Good afternoon, Professor Mark. Thank you for coming today. My name is Ted, and I'll ask you a few questions regarding McDonnell Fellowship and Academy in general.
Great. Thanks for having me, Ted.
Thank you. So let's start off with a question about your initial involvement with McDonnell work. When was that, and how did you get involved with the work?
Well, I joined Washington University a little under 2 years ago, and right away got engaged with McDonnell International Scholars Academy. I had a chance to meet and interact with Professor Kurt Dirks and subsequently PJ Brahmani and Laura Benoit and others at the McDonnell International Scholars Academy. And was just so excited to learn about the depth of investment that Washington University is making in global engagement. And because of that, that allows outstanding graduate students from around the world to come to Washington University and train and learn here, and then also be able to be stewards of Washington University out around the world for really long periods of time throughout their careers. So I've been engaged with McDonnell, really from the get-go.
Oh, that sounds nice. I'll just build on that question. So as part of the McDonnell tradition, we have a global research symposium like this one. So why does this kind of symposium matter to you and the McDonnell in general? Why does it matter?
Sure. I mean, global research is really exciting on a lot of levels. So one is we think about the ideas that may be generated here in St. Louis and how can those be disseminated and contextualized around the world to really try to have an impact to improve the lives around, not just our community, but potentially communities around the world, but also that other direction that's so important, right?
Yes.
Being really curious about ideas around the world and what's happening outside of St. Louis. That's essential for our students, for our trainees and scholars and faculty to be really part of this larger global research network. And so that's one of the things we're trying to do at Washington University is to create that. And some of that is stimulating that idea. So a conference like that does just that. And it really also showcases a lot of the work that's happening internationally. So we have to have conferences like this.
Yeah, okay. That sounds right. The other one is I saw your bio. You've involved yourself in global research, engagements, and also in implementation and those kinds of research. How do you see this part of your job aligning with McDonnell, visions in general?
Sure. I mean, I think when I was a boy growing up here in St. Louis, my mother gave me a book about a physician who was working internationally. And for me as a kid, I wasn't really sure how I could sort of create a career that would allow me to work internationally. But I imagined I might, was hoped I could practice medicine. And so I happened to be lucky enough to be from a hometown with an outstanding institution at Washington University. And so my work is really that bi-directional kind of relationship between ideas around this really big condition known as cardiovascular disease. So heart disease, stroke causes 1 out of every 3 deaths around the world. It's the dominant cause of death kind of if it's a high-income country like the United States or upper, middle, lower country, lower income country. So the strategies, we have a playbook actually on how to promote cardiovascular health and prevent cardiovascular diseases, but it's not implemented in most parts of the world. So that's so much of my science is trying to think about how do we implement that at really large scale. So having scientific rigor, creativity, curiosity, engagement with people, like in communities in a real way. So I take care of patients here in St. Louis, and we have one-on-one great, physician-patient interactions that are really specific to what their needs are, but also as someone who's interested in public health, about what are those ideas, systems, policies, practices that can be disseminated, scaled, and sustained that can allow for the promotion of health. So people aren't even ended up seeing someone like me. So yeah, there's a lot of intersection here for sure.
Yeah. So my last question will be, I'm a McDonnell scholar aspiring to be a leader in the future in my area and in general. So as a leader yourself, what are the pieces of advice that you can give me for me to be a better leader in the future?
Sure. So, I think about people who lead really big organizations. Well, there are lots of different theories about leadership or approaches. One that is attractive to me is called interactive leadership, and it's trying to think about leaders setting a vision that is often co-created with members of what might be their community or their stakeholders. And that vision is not something that's going to be executed by a leader. It's not what a leader does, but what a leader helps to support it happening. And so I don't believe a command and control approach is really contemporary leadership, but rather one that inspires and supports individuals to be able to support that vision. And so as you're kind of embarking on your career, one of the things that I challenge you is to burst the balloon of possibility. And these things that happen today, life is fragile, the world is fragile. It's not necessarily going to continue in a particular way. And it requires leaders like you to be able to get in there, be humble, get your hands dirty, kind of roll up your sleeves, so to speak, and work. But to be imaginative, to be positive about the world, because that's why we do most of the things that we do, because we think we can contribute in a positive way. If we were pessimistic, we just sit on the couch. So,
Exactly.
I'm so excited that, you're part of this cohort of amazing leaders, and the world needs you, Ted. Like, we need you, right? Because who's going to be there if not leaders for you and generations to come? So, so glad that you're part of it.
Thank you so much. That was really helpful. Thank you for coming today.